Good morning. This recording is for Sunday, January 10th, and it's the 10th chapter of Genesis. The 10th chapter of Genesis is 32 verses of genealogy, not any narrative to speak of at all. Aside from taking a helicopter view up and looking at the reason for genealogies. And the reason for genealogies was legitimacy, establishing legitimacy. I was going to say, I've said it before and I'll say it again, but I probably said it before when we were looking in the summertime at the Gospels. The Gospel of Matthew has a long genealogy in the beginning. And the point and the purpose of the genealogy, it connects Jesus to Joseph, not not to Jesus's uh, father, which was, the angel and the whole Mary story, but that's in Luke. But the genealogy is for legitimacy. So that is the point of having a genealogy. And in this chapter 10 in Genesis, you see the establishing of the population of the known world after the flood. And so it's the three sons of Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth, or Jeff, since we're calling him because it's easier to pronounce. The three sons of Noah and their descendants. And so Noah's son, um, Shem, it says here that Shem sends his people to the east. That's the last bit. They tell you where Shem's descendants go. The first bit is the descendants of Japheth. And Japheth is descendants were to the north. The descendants of Ham are the biggest chunk in there. And as we know before, the message about Ham being the father of Canaan, and Canaan being cursed because of the nakedness of Noah, and that passage has been used to subjugate people by biblical text throughout history. So it's a very negative passage. And all the descendants of Ham are considered to be like some people have inserted that into the text, groups of people throughout history to say that because they're from the southern regions. So you'll see that it's modern day Sudan is Cush and things like that. Like that's where the descendants of Ham are from, Egypt and those different areas. I really believe that the reason for that story was for that group of people at the time in which they were writing all this down, post-exilic Israel. It was to define themselves over and against the Canaanites because that was important. And I think that, it has been used to just justify all kinds of terrible historical things throughout the world because of this whole idea of the descendants that are cursed or something. So what the priestly voice and the Yahwist voice are both in here back and forth together. What the priestly voice would like to show again is order out of chaos. So there's like Noah, three sons. Here's where the sons of Japheth went. This is where the descendants of Ham went, and this is where the descendants of Shem went. So the middle of it is the biggest chunk. It's basically the verse 6 through verse 20 is all Ham, and then 21 through 32, or really 21 through 31 is descendants of Shem, and then the Japheth one is the beginning. So when we're looking at that, if you have a commentary Bible, you can see where these different lands are. And so what they were trying to do was set up, this is where these people in these different tribes and groups came from. They're all descended from Noah through his three sons, and they all settled in different places. And so that's really where the genealogy, the purpose of a genealogy is to legitimate this group and that group, and to make sure that we see the order of it. And so there is some confusion and conflict between the two voices here, because the Yahwist has the Assyrians as a descendant of Ham, and the um, priestly voice has the Assyrians as a descendant of Shem. So it's Asher where they develop from. And so they talk about the Assyrians in the earlier part where the Ham uh, lineage is, and then Shem is the father of Asher, who would be the where the Assyrians would come from. And the lands, it gets mixed up, and because it is two different voices and two different geopolitical intentions in there. So it's really, the way that it goes back and forth is remarkable. It takes a lot of redaction to put that stuff together, but I guess they just kind of the scholars looked into it and said, oh, this looks like the priestly one, and this is the, because of the name of God. Sometimes you have the name of God in there, and that's the Yahwist voice, because that was always translated Lord in our English translation, but it would say Yahweh, and that's always, and whenever you see Lord, you know that is somebody calling God Yahweh, and that's how that's always translated. And I guess that's kind of all I have to say about the genealogies, and um, just this establishment of legitimacy for these people, and it kind of setting order to all the world. This is where these people are from. This is where these people are from, and this is how this all went down. This group is here, this group is there, and then they all descended from Noah, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. So I don't think that genealogies are uninspirational. I really wanted to tackle Genesis because of the narratives in it, and uh, it is a good formulating for the history of the Hebrew people, this these narratives. And then the biggest thing for me is that you it's the talks about the relationship between God and humankind, from the creation and to the establishment of the tribes of Israel. So uh, legitimacy in genealogy establishes that the people who inhabited the known world, according to the Bible, were the descendants of Noah, who God remembered and who remembered God. So that's, to me, I just go back to that chapter, the two previous chapters, and my understanding of these genealogies, or the inspirational part of these genealogies, is that the people who populate the earth are God's children that God saved through Noah, and the ark, and put on the earth to prosper and multiply, and to be in relationship back with God. So all these people that descend from the children of Shem, Ham, and Japheth are God's children, and inheritors of God's grace. And so that's your genealogy inspirational message for today. Have a wonderful day.